fly in, Paige. We did that in unison. That was funny. We're good. Hi, guys. Hi. I think you're up. This is where you talk.
I just don't think anybody's here yet.
No, I think it says live. I don't know. Do you have the chat window open? The Q&A?
Well, it would show right here, viewers.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, we have 2 viewers. Now I feel like I'm not just talking to an empty box.
Right. Hi, guys. We're doing this on G Plus again tonight because, you know, we have really bad internet service out here in the country. So
it's just not reliable for us to try and do it on our other more professional spot that allows you to not have to go to G Plus. But I did get the link into the description this time. So any of you that want to go over to Google Plus and join in the conversation, it's right there in the description this time.
And we'll eventually get this figured out.
Yeah, but it won't help us to figure it out because our internet is always going to be bad.
Right, exactly.
So today what I wanted to talk about was actually kind of spawned in my brain from listening to Living on a Dime last night. And they were talking about the reason that so many people get into debt, that there are, you know, valid reasons that some people get into debt, specifically medical expenses. Hey, Palmetto.
Hey, Palmetto.
And so there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people last night that I think took what Living on a Dime was saying and took it the wrong way, because they really encompass so many different things. But I think it's Mike is the husband's name on Do It on a Dime. I've watched him enough times I should know by now, but I'm pretty sure it's Mike. He was talking about how he used to work in television, and that he became very familiar with the advertisements and the way that the media and movies and any kind of advertisement is supposed to make us afraid of one thing or another. If you're not beautiful enough, you'll lose your husband. If you're not rich enough, your neighbor won't admire you. If you don't live in a certain neighborhood, you'll never be able to run for mayor. Whatever it is that you're being told, that when you purchase it, it will fix your life in some amazing way. And if you don't purchase it, your life will be incomplete. And that really, really resonated with me. And I've never heard it said that way before. I've heard other things like your greed or your impatience or your whatever is the reason why you are in debt. But I think it really does come down to fear. And I just felt so much compassion for Mike. He tried to be really understanding and say, women really worry about their appearance. You can sell pretty much anything to a woman if you make her feel like she's not good enough, and that somehow she will be a better mother, a better wife, a better neighbor if she has this one tool that will allow her to do it.
And usually it's beauty.
I think
a big one.
Beauty and insecurities about your physical appearance have so much to do with that for women. And for men, I think it has to do with your virility. It has to do with your status and your stature for your wife. Is she really impressed with me? Does the world take me seriously? Can I provide for my family? All these things that we want, these things around us that prove that we're successful. But they also took it to another, and along that line, it makes me think, you guys know that we sell things with our YouTube channel and stuff like that, with the Etsy store and everything. And it did make me want to sit back and think, I really need to be careful about the things that I tell people are important enough to purchase, because we're preppers, and a lot of times preppers feed on fear. Yes. A lot of times we come at preparedness from a place of fear rather than just from a place of preparedness. Preparedness and fear are not the same thing. And, okay, not with the tongue anymore. No more with the tongue. Okay? I love you, but the noise in my ear, it's delicious.
You're hungry.
And I think everybody really, really resonated with the things that they set up to that point. Hey guys. Oh, it's Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie.
Oh.
And it's Jennifer. Hello. Okay, so I'm starting to feel like I'm being smothered. But then they shifted their topic a little bit. And anybody who did not see their show last night, you need to go and see it. It is Living on a Dime is the #1 reason you are in debt. And
we're getting rid of children, sorry.
and they transitioned from talking about why you're in debt to actual, like, real fear. There's so much fear in the world right now, so much antagonism between different groups. We have an election year coming up, and they actually went in and they started talking about why they don't watch the news. And at this point, a lot of people in the community kind of blew up at them, and they're like, what, you don't know everything that you need to know about everything, and you're going to die if you don't know everything. Right. And a lot of people got really emotional about it. And I wanted to give my take on that, because I agree 100% with them about not exposing yourself to things that are meant to cause fear. Mm-hmm. People that are fear-mongers for their own personal gain or for their political leanings, people who dwell on these things constantly, they have an agenda. And so my personal thing with this is that when I was about 8, my dad went and was part of a political a politician's run for presidency. It was Bogarts. My dad really, really believed in Bogarts. He wanted him to win. He felt like he could save the country, and he put his heart and soul into it. And a lot of people put their heart and soul into it, and then he didn't win. And my dad was crushed by that. The fact that he felt like he felt powerless after that. And for a lot of years, he tried to stay really on top of what was going on in the news and find out what was going. And then he started feeling like he was being fed a line, that what was really happening in the world wasn't what was being put on the news. And honey, if you keep erasing them, it really distracts me, and I can't actually focus on what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
And so he actually got to the point where he refused to listen to any news, anything that he considered worth reading or looking at. He would maybe try to find it from different news groups. Sorry, guys. I do so much better not with live. I do so much better not with live, because any kind of little distraction and I lose my train of thought. Oh, Brooklyn girl, I'm so glad you made it. I know chat is not working on YouTube. You do have to go to G+.
Yeah, we got G+ only tonight because of the bandwidth problem we've got going. Sorry.
So anyway, what I wanted to talk about was when you live in fear, it steals your time. The only thing that you have that belongs to you really is your time. And so if you allow your time to be spent not in preparedness up to the point where you can prepare reasonably, then you're allowing somebody else to steal your time. And so I don't watch the news. John feels differently about it. Like
No. In fact, okay, yeah, no, this was a good time to jump in. When I'm at work, I get very bored with just listening to music, and so the only alternative to that that's on the radio is talk radio, or luckily I have discovered podcasts, so I can do something that's a little more productive and actually learn something. But before that, before I got hurt, it was Glenn Beck. Yeah.
and I hated him.
And we agree. Wait. But we agree with his ideals, though. We agree in his libertarian mindset. However, everything has always been based on fear. Oh my gosh, the world's going to collapse. Oh my gosh, the stock market tanked. And oh, I was right on the stock market. So now the world's going to collapse. Oh my gosh, Donald Trump's going to be in office. Just to the end. When I got hurt, we turned it off. Do you remember that? And all of a sudden, my fear or my worries just went away. They evaporated. Like it was just not even there. And so I realized how much time I was wasting. And to reinforce that, I go back to work, and now I'm stuck with, I run out of podcasts. I go back to Glenn Beck. Oh, look, we should invest in gold. It's, we should go buy it from this company, et cetera, et cetera. So,
well,
go ahead.
And from our point of view, we are as prepared as most people ever get. But what we started to feel like was there was always some other avenue we should be. Honey, please don't. It really distracts me. So stop touching it, please. Yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Fine. Brooklyn girl. Yes, the worst one is Alex Jones. It was insane, some of the things he's talking about. Go ahead.
Right, but it will just scroll through, so just stop touching it because I can't handle the motion over here.
Sorry, guys, we don't get the fun screen.
So we were incredibly prepared, and what would happen is we were prepared, and then we would listen to some big rant from Glenn Beck, and we would be like, oh my gosh, we're not prepared enough. And what we ended up doing is we went and had like 3 years of food storage. We couldn't get through it fast enough. It was going bad, and instead of putting money into gold or paying off our mortgage, we didn't have any personal debt or anything. My school was paid off. We had the car paid off. We didn't owe anything except for our home. Instead of paying our house off quickly, instead we would have these panic buys of things that were like, oh my gosh, we've got to have that because if we don't have that, we're all going to die. And we weren't purchasing things like through Glenn Beck's website or anything. We were just scared. And we've gotten to the point where we're like, we can't go make these, we put all this money in savings, and then we're like, oh my gosh, we could spend it. We've got to spend it now because the dollar's going to die tomorrow. And so we actually did that a couple times. We'd have like $6,000 in savings. And then Glenn Beck would come out and we're like, we've got to go spend all of our money on anything preparedness that we need. And $6,000 for us was huge because he was making $25,000 a year. Right. And we had managed our money so well, but then we'd go blow it on things that we really didn't need in order to be prepared. We were prepared enough. Yeah, and we thought at the time, hey, this is a good investment. No, it didn't end up being that great. See, Flying Bee Farm had a really good one, and now we can't find Flying deer. VS Farm. That would be Rebecca. Flying versus Farm. Yes, it is Rebecca. She was amazing. Where did it go? Right there. So she says, it's good to stay informed on current events. However, the issue is when you dwell on it, focus so much on what the media is trying to push on, what you don't focus on is the important things in life. So I'm going to half agree with you. It is definitely important to focus on the things in life. However, what difference does it make when it's Trump versus Hillary? We're going to be in the same poop hole no matter what when we get done. Well, no matter what. And that is exactly 100% what my dad found. What he found was that because we are controlled by these lobbyists that are controlled by these chemical companies that are controlled by the corporations, our president is really just a puppet. Right. The laws that they want to have passed are going to be guided by the bigwigs out there. And it's gotten to such a point where it doesn't matter how we vote, right, because what's going to happen is going to be evil anyway. And I don't know how to get around that in my head to say, Lord, why is this happening to our country? Right. Why is this being allowed to happen? Right. But the only thing that I think you can do is when laws come up, when in your small elections, make as big of a difference as you can. In your local laws, make as big of a difference as you can. And hopefully it will have a trickle effect, because when it comes to the president, we've already lost power. We've already, there's Hillary versus Trump. Right. Oh my gosh, really? Right. I mean, it's like they chose our political people on Twitter instead of. Yeah, well, and if anybody doubts that, I mean, if anybody actually, Tommy said this in the best possible way a couple weeks ago from Off Grid Nation. He actually said, if you really think Trump is going to go and change up the system, he's killing it. He's making multi-million dollars in the system that we have now. Why would he ever want to change that? And everybody knows that Hillary is like in the system. She's just evil. So anyway, I do have a set of things for us to talk about today, but I did want to put that out there. You should go watch the show that Living on a Dime made last night, because they really just said it all. And I'm probably going to go back and watch it another couple of times, because they really just preached it and it was amazing. And Brooklyn Girl really just summed it up right there. She just had to take a step back and say, whoa, chill, God's in control. And that's all we have is him, Yeah. And so we can move on. Okay. So we have an RV series that is coming. we're planning for both contingencies, and we just haven't stopped doing that. I'm still decluttering my house. For instance, I'm going to sell my treadle sewing machine.
I'm still working on what to sell.
He's I keep saying, honey,
you gotta get rid of it. And I'm like, okay.
A few of your girls need to go to different homes
because gotta stay. I need one Julie just for you.
You have a Julie.
I have a Julie.
I have a Julie.
Two Julies. I mean, how awesome is that?
Anyway, so we are downsizing extremely fast as I can. So I'm going to do a series on how to fit the most food storage in your RV and how possibly to RV with your livestock, which I think will be really good videos.
Yeah. We're going to try and do it as a bug out vehicle in case of the fear mongering. So.
Well, but we use it. I think
it may be a good one for that.
The decision that I made as far as prepping was that I cannot buy anything for prepping that I do not use on a daily basis. If it's not a tool that I use on a daily basis, I should not own it, because then if an emergency ever happened, I wouldn't know how to use it. It wouldn't have worked its way into my daily life. And a lot of those tools are exceptionally expensive, you know, a few $100s. And so
which you can buy cheaper at Home Depot, and it's useful every day on a lot of those tools. Like the survival shovel, go get a shovel.
The specialty shovels, any kind of, it's like food storage. Like for us, food storage does not mean it's in a foil bag that was freezer dried or anything. Our food storage is beans in a 5-gallon bucket, and rice in a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, those seeds that come in a sealed can that you throw in your freezer.
Okay, for instance, we did that, or my grandma did that. She got one of those survival cans of seeds, and 30 years later, we went down into the storage room and found it. The problem with those cans is that a lot of people never crack them open. They never test the seeds to make sure they're actually viable, and thus you're relying on a source of seeds that you never open to see if they're actually seeds inside.
Well, and we bought, do you remember the year we bought two? We tested one.
One of the first years of our marriage.
And it had about a 30 or 40% growth rate, success rate. They never sprouted. They are garbage seeds that go into this coffee can.
And so you have to if you decide you do want to do something like that, get two cans, test one, see if it works. If you have a 90% test rate, then yeah, keep them. But I would rotate them out every 4 years at least and use them in your garden. And that way you know if you even like the variety that's coming through.
Yeah, they weren't, whatever did survive, we didn't eat.
Yeah.
That's kind of, yeah.
Let's see. So the girls currently, Paige has started to milk chamomile. Did she remember to do that tonight?
I'll go remind her.
Do you want to go remind her?
Yep.
She has taken over the night milking for chamomile because chamomile, when she comes in very suddenly, and she's giving a lot of milk. And I hate milking. I hate milking at night. For me, in order to keep my sanity, I do somewhere between 2 and 4 hours of chores in the morning. And then any other chores that need to be done throughout the day are very small chores, and they're done by the girls. And it's been really, really nice. This is the first year that Paige has had enough strength in her hands to be able to milk chamomile. And she just brings the milk in, puts it in a bottle, feeds it to the baby goats. The reason the baby goats are not straight on chamomile is that she has very thin-walled teats. And when she has babies nursing on her, they actually chew up her teats enough that she has milk that squirts out the side of her teat. And it takes time for that to heal. So this time around, we did not nurse the babies on her at all to preserve chamomile's teats. Thank you, heaven help us. Yeah, I don't know why that link isn't showing up, because it showed up just fine when I went to it, but it apparently we still have a learning curve on our links. All right, so what's the other thing? The girls are taking over things by leaps and bounds. 2 nights ago, Paige made the parsnip cake by herself, 100% by herself. It was delicious. She's 9 years old, making this somewhat complicated cake. And we took it to John's brother's house for dinner, and she was so proud of it, and I was so proud of her. And they just amaze me every day on how much responsibility they're taking on, and how much like little adults they are. For instance, about every other week, we're butchering 2 of the geese. Right now, we don't have any loud ones. There for a bit, we had 2 that were African geese, and they were so loud. They honked at everything. And the reason that we don't keep them in a barn where it's dark so they'll stop honking is because we free range our ducks. And it does us absolutely no good to have the geese separated from the ducks in a barn where they won't honk, because if they're in the dark in a barn where they can't honk, then they can't protect the ducks. And so what we actually ended up doing was butchering those 2 geese, put them in the freezer, and then waited for a bit to see if anybody else started to pick up aggression and dominance now that the herd had been thinned a little bit. And we had 4 others that started to be really loud. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll do it again. And so we butchered 4 more while our woofer Daniel was here. He's from Ireland. And he helped with that a lot. It's very helpful when butchering animals that you have another adult on hand, because then as the birds get plucked, you can take them, butcher them, you can eviscerate them and get the intestines out so that it can cool down quickly. But it's hard to do that as just a single adult in the situation. How are the Michigan gardener seeds going? They did really, really well. I had a really good germination rate with them. And I liked that they were so inexpensive and that there were not a huge amount of seeds in each package, because for the most part, you don't need that many seeds in your garden. It doesn't take very many zucchini seeds to have a jungle of zucchini. Let's see. And so with the last batch of geese that we did, so this year, this summer, just in the last few weeks, we butchered 6 geese. And the girls have been a huge help in getting them plucked. They're getting a lot better at it. And in fact, the other night, 2 days in a row, they went out and tried to catch geese for me, because we had 2 geese that were pecking at all the young ducks, and the girls were angry about it because they were being so mean and so loud. And so they'd go out and try and catch the geese, and they'd be scared because they'd peck them, and so they try and corner them and pick them up. And every time I'd yell to one, I don't want to butcher geese today. I've got other things. Stop trying to make me butcher the geese. It's like, no, this is on my agenda, you know, as my last thing that needs to be done. So instead, Paige was really upset about it. So we went and clipped some fencing, and we pushed the geese away from the ducks. They're in a pen right next to them, so they can still alert if there's a problem, but they're not in with the ducks where they can pick on the babies. And since then, they have been as silent as the tomb. Yeah. Why do we have goats in our house?
Because we have children that we gave birth.
Did you hear them?
Yes,
Am I imagining
no,
it?
you got it right. I didn't even hear it until I heard it.
Don't I leave the door open?
Girls.
I love live shows. They're so much fun. Okay, Lewis Palmer, I agree. Glenn Beck had me so worried about things I began to doubt myself and my own ability to prepare. Every week it was a new panic thing going on, so I finally just cut him off and forged ahead on my own and trusted myself without influence like his. You know, and that's exactly how we felt. You know, we appreciated the fact that Glenn was getting news out and everything, but it does sell things for his business. He makes money being someone that creates fear. And while what he's talking about is real, he's not making it up. These things really are happening, and those things really are going to come to fruition in my day-to-day life. I'm not willing to sell my time into.
We're done selling our time.
Yeah.
And trading it for our fear.
Yeah. We're looking at a move as well. Have started the declutter thing too. Have a long way to go though. I can't see the name.
Yeah, that's why I select this. Why you select it?
I know, but if I'm not actually talking about it, it's
Jennifer Deeming.
And that's the thing isn't it fun to move and just see how much stuff you don't need? It's so fun just to let go of so much stuff. Okay, so the girls have been huge help with butchering. I still have not allowed them to actually do any of the killing of the animals. I feel like at that young of an age, I don't want to instill in them a disrespect for life. I want them to have respect for life and a deep understanding that we work very hard not to cause suffering for our animals when we dispatch them, that it's as quick, fast, and painless as possible. And I don't think at the age that they're at, they understand the gravity of the situation. And so while they do help me with the plucking, I'm the one that actually kills them so that I know that it's fast and so that I'm not putting that kind of responsibility in the hand of a child.
And do you remember Brandon when we did the pig butchering video, and it wasn't on camera, but real quick right after because he put a shot at the pig, and right after, as soon as it went down, he does a quick Catholic prayer saying thank you for this meal, and maybe we should start doing that to instill in our children how this is a return.
Well, I talk to the animal. I talk to the animal, and I talk about it being sad. And if the girls are acting lighthearted at the moment, I remind them that this animal has a sacred life too. And I do feel the irony of the fact that we raise this animal and love it up until the point that we dispatch it. That does feel like a huge, horrible irony to me. And yet I've seen how animals kill other animals, and it's not quick and painless. And I feel that my humanity is that I care for the suffering of the animal, and I try to make it as pain-free as possible. Okay, so let's move on. With the farm progression, what's going on right now is that the row garden is only being watered right now. When we had woofers here, they did a little bit of weeding for me, but not a huge amount. We're just kind of watching to see what happens. We have lots of tomatoes in the greenhouse, lots of cherry tomatoes. The bigger tomatoes are starting to come on. The squash is a huge flop. There's just not enough room in there. The tomatoes are already a jungle, but then we have some summer squash in there, and it's like the Amazon. And I don't know if they're getting too much water or if they're not getting enough air and sunlight. But my understanding, I think, when I talked to LDS Prepper, was that he says that if it didn't get pollinated fully, the fruits will get to a certain size and then grow no further. And I wonder if that's what's happened. We have lots of bug life in the greenhouse right now, lots and lots. We have grasshoppers and little flies and little wasps and bees that come in. But I don't know. The greenery looks beautiful. There's lots of blossoms, but everything is stunted as far as the summer squash goes. So lots of herbs, lots of tomatoes right now. Yep.
So, well, it could just be that that sunlight has to get through a filter before getting to the plants, and we may just have to move everything out of the greenhouse in order to get it to grow.
Well, just the squash. Okay. Everything else is doing just fine.
Okay, we may have to move the squash out. Jennifer says that the grubs got her squash. Yeah, sorry. Get ducks. They're good for that.
Well, but then the ducks would eat the blossoms most likely. It's such a hard line to walk to know how to, incorporate livestock into your garden itself. Oh, thank you, Brooklyn girl. Okay, so let's see. Our geese are now silent. Now that the ones are separated from the ducks. Our Muscovy duck, which we absolutely love her, I'm hoping that she will set another clutch of eggs here and I'm hoping she'll give us 2 more this year, which means she'll have given us 4 sets of ducklings, which is better turnout than a rabbit. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's less expensive because they can free range. Let's see, with the rabbits, we've had some really spotty
livers?
No.
Okay. Sorry, trying to make a joke.
Spotty breeding. Like we've had breedings there where one of our more experienced does, she didn't take. Another one, she only had 2. The other one, she had 6, and one had 8, which is, all over the chart. We have one buck. He wasn't bred too many times in a short amount of time. And so we may be sending our more mature mom to the freezer soon. She's coming up on 2 years, if not older. And so it's probably time to put her in the freezer. And I'm thinking about cutting back on rabbits just because the girls are having a hard time keeping up on the chores for the rabbits in this heat.
Well, you end up with 16 babies, and you're over 20 rabbits now. And so, we're over 20
Which
rabbits
I don't mind.
now.
I don't mind as long as we have a ton of babies.
But we got to have, and the food kind of starts getting in there, plus keeping them watered. Like you said, the girls are having to go out 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah, we have the girls check on them. And it's not that hot here. It's like in the low 90s, high 80s. But when you have nursing mamas and babies that are growing really fast, you have to make sure they always have food and always have water. And right now, they're not being super efficient. If they were being super efficient, I'd be a lot happier, but they're not with those spotty pregnancy rates. I'm not real happy with that. Let's see, I'm not really a prepper, but I grew up in the forested mountains of eastern Kentucky, so putting back food, water, and supplies because of power outages, mudslides, and deep snow is just a cultural thing I was raised with.
Yeah. And when we had Daniel, our prepper over here, we had the power go out for a few hours, and apparently that's very uncommon over on the island. He says it's never happened to him, which I said, you know, it's not common here, but maybe once a year, every couple of years, maybe we'll have the power go out for a while. And so it's just a good reminder of why we're doing what we do, you know, because...
Did I already tell them the story about living in Gillette?
I don't know.
When I was a 5-year-old, we lived in Gillette, Wyoming, and there was a winter storm that blew in and covered our house in snow. It covered the town in snow. And we couldn't get out of our house. The power was down, obviously. My parents had a kerosene heater and food storage in the basement. My youngest brother was a newborn. And we were just fine because my dad had the kerosene heater. We had the food storage. We kind of treated it like a party. We put on our snowsuits to stay a little bit warmer. And he had a shovel in the garage that was connected to the house. And he dug the snow out through the door up to get up on top of the snow that was covering the house. And we were fine. And, you know, those kind of things are... Yeah, they make sense. They're common sense.
Yeah, things happen, and it's good to have water and food in your house.
Yeah.
Or apartment.
I mean, you know,
or RV.
You wouldn't probably need a kerosene heater if you lived in the Bahamas, but we live in a place that has a lot of cold in the winter, and so we prep according to where we live.
Okay. Hi, Aardvark. Yes, we can see you.
Okay. The one thing, okay, so still on the gardening, the one thing that I don't like about the greenhouse is how far it is from the house. Because it's so far from the house, it is not convenient for me to walk out and harvest things that I need to cook for dinner. I have to walk all the way around our whole property to get back to the greenhouse. And so I really like the permaculture thing where you have zones, you put the things that you're going to be using the most closest to your house, which should be your greenhouse. And so in another life, if I had a choice, we would put it very, very close to the house. And I'm not sure how to get around that because, for instance, I can send the girls out to harvest things for a meal, but they're not very good at it. They have a tendency to go in and step on things and clip the wrong thing. Right. And of course, it can't be my eyeballs. I know exactly what I need and where it is, but they have to take from my verbal cues what it is they're supposed to pick up. And so usually I don't send them out to the greenhouse, and it makes it hard that it's so far away. Sharon, we have not decided what to do. The issue right now is if we go in an RV, of course, we would still be homeschooling the girls. If we're not in an RV, then I'm not real sure. I'm not real sure.
How do we do this? Because I'm now gone 9 hours a day again, and you're here working on business things.
And we don't know how long his job will last.
Yeah, and the kids don't really self-school yet. So we're trying really hard to be able to homeschool, and we're really trying to figure out how to work that in. But right now,
we just don't know.
It has to. I mean, right now the only option to do that is the RV.
And along that line,
okay.
Later on, don't let me forget to talk about number 5 because I think it's part of school. Let's see. So currently we don't have any woofers. We don't have any more woofers planned until September. And honestly, it has been, it's been really good. We got a whole bunch of really big projects done, which was amazing. And I have a big video coming up of that showing all the different projects that the woofers got done that were so fast, that were amazing. And it's a lot of work to keep woofers fed and to keep your children away from the woofers so that they can work, and to keep your children away from the woofers so that they're not spending time with strangers where your eyes are not on them. And it was exhausting. It was kind of emotionally exhausting, particularly the part with the girls. If the girls, if I needed to work on something downstairs, or if I was just dog tired from having been up too late in the night and I needed to take a little nap, I couldn't trust the girls to stay in the house, and I would find them out in the RV with the woofers. And it became emotionally exhausting. And so am I excited to have our new woofer come in September? Yes. Am I excited to have a break and not have woofers? Yes. It is definitely nice to have somebody else to do the grunt work. And so I just won't be doing any of the projects until our new woofer comes, and then she'll take over. Let's see. Video coming about the woofers. I already told you about that. Okay, so one thing that I'm really super excited about is I have really been brainstorming, trying to find ways to interact with my girls that I don't play well. I don't know if you guys can see I'm a little bit high strung, but I don't play well. It is not in my nature to play, and it never has been. As a child, I did not feel comfortable in group settings. I didn't play. I'd never liked to play board games or anything like that. I always loved animals, and I always loved to read. And I had friends as a kid. I loved to play with my siblings, but I always wanted there to be a purpose behind the play, if that makes sense. I didn't like senseless playing. I didn't like playing dress up fashion queen type things. I liked to play with boys. I liked to play with boys that were a couple years older than me, and we would go and play Army, and we would go and pretend we had a playhouse and invent things in the playhouse, and that's how I loved to play. But the girls are little girls, and they want to play dolls and dress up and everything, and so far I've been able to find ways to interact with them where we're, okay, well, let's sew then, or okay, I'll teach you how to spin, and that I can handle doing. But I'm trying to kind of come out of my shell a little bit and learn how to go camping. There's no point behind it, but to go camping. Like, I spend my time outside all day. Why would I want to go play with the bugs?
Well, and even before that, when her job was outside all the time, 6 days a week. That was
So if I'm going to be outside, I want to be doing work, and I want to come in and do my inside work. And I'm trying really hard to change my mentality on that and find creative ways to play with the girls where they don't realize that I'm teaching them something. And thus, I want to get to the book of the day, is My Side of the Mountain. It was one of my absolute favorite books as a child, and even as a teenager and in my 20s. I loved this book because it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go live in the wilderness and build my own shelter and survive and just be around the animals. And I started reading this to the girls today, and I thought, you know what? I should just start teaching them bushcrafting. I know how to do it. Why don't I just teach it to them? And why don't we do a video series on it to say, hey, this is how you teach your kids how to bushcraft.
Old ways, new times says, think of camping as dry runs for the grid going down. Back to the prepper comment.
Well, and the thing is, I already have all those skills, and
really
so
funny.
And so for me, I'm like, what the heck? What is the point of going out and starting a fire? I have a fire in my kitchen. Right. I start my fire so that I can cook my food on my wood stove. And so for me to go out and do it in the rain, in a sleeping bag, and I'm like, I butcher and going out and going, being like, I'm gonna live off the land while I'm out camping. I've got rabbits I could butcher at home,
Right. Should I let them in on my secret for why I love camping so much?
You can sleep in?
You're trapped in a sleeping bag with me.
Yeah.
You can only get so far away.
It's
awesome.
I do not like to be trapped without something to do with my hands.
I can't do this for more than 12 seconds.
Yeah, and I get fidgety.
Get
off me!
Yep. Oh, hey. Deep South Homestead. You and Danny are so much alike.
I don't. And it's not that I don't love deeply. It's that I want it to have purpose. Oh, we'll have to get it sometime.
All right.
And so,
I think it's even as big as.
What were we talking about?
Not playing well with others, camping.
Oh, so I'm trying to find new, interesting things that will allow my family to feel loved and feel like I'm close to them and interacting with them instead of off saving the world one farm at a time.
Yeah, right.
And so I think the way to do that is bushcrafting, because the girls have already shown an interest in building their own structures. They're constantly building structures. They're making their own clothes. It's obvious they could do these skills. And so the first one.
I made a big tan dress.
You did? Did you want to go put it on just so they can see it?
though, is that it's hard to get on.
Yeah.
There's no zipper, huh?
Yeah, and another thing is they can hardly get around my waist, so it's hard to get on and take it off.
Yeah. So an evening dress, huh?
Yeah, I think I'll be selling it.
Will you be selling it?
And you said
I
to
can
stop.
show it to you
I thought you said
guys.
to start from the top. Let's go down. Are you gonna come sit up? Be cute. Okay. Oh,
And so
that was a leg.
I have tried to find a way to do play and have it not be something where I'm just looking at the ceiling, at the walls, like, let me out, let me out, let me out. And I think that because we're going to teach you how to make fire without a match, huh?
Yeah,
So we're gonna do the bushcrafting thing for kids.
And let them gain some of these skills in a safe environment where I'm like right there. I know the fire got put out, and maybe we'll build some adobe or some cob buildings, or maybe we'll do some twig buildings and we'll lay mud over it.
I think a twig
I like what Kelly
building would
says.
be.
Sometimes doing nothing but hanging at a campsite playing horseshoes is doing something positive.
I think a twig building would be the best.
Amen.
A twig building would be fun.
A twig building.
And for me,
I think it would also be fun.
I'm not competitive that way. I have absolutely no interest in games. I have absolutely no interest in competitive team sports. I used to show jump. I used to like riding horses, but that's a solitary thing. You're just competing with yourself and you're on a horse. So I'm with an animal. I'm not actually interacting with the other people around me. And so that was my favorite sport was show jumping. And I didn't really care if I won. It was just about being with the animals.
Doc.
Being trapped in a sleeping bag has purpose. Yes, it does.
It does. So let's see. Go ahead.
I'm at a loss for words.
I don't I'm gonna keep the cute one back.
Well, and see, we've always had similar interests, and that was just kind of the prepping and wanting to be out of debt and that kind of thing. And when we were first married, we used to go boating. That was John's interest. And I actually sold my horse and got out of horses when we first got married because I felt like having that kind of like self-interested hobby that wasn't really a family activity. It's not like the whole family could go get on my horse. And so I sold it. And I haven't ridden since then. But John had the boat. And so we did a lot of boating.
Yeah, see this one, kind of this is for you. Twig building. Make sure the big bad wolf's not around to blow it down.
Should we make it out of straw instead? Or brick?
We got lots
Should
of
we make it
straw.
out of brick?
I don't think so, but you know that the big bad wolf isn't real.
Oh.
It's only a story.
It's only a
The
story.
really funny one.
Anna says hello. Do you know who Anna is? She's on Go for Green Living. She wore the little robot suit. Do you remember that? Did you see that one? It was super cute. We'll have to show it to you. She's your age. If we go see them, you could totally play with her. It would be so fun.
Yeah. Old ways, new times, building things together. Yeah, it is great to do because it inspires creativity. In fact, we should eventually get a video up for TP, huh?
Yeah.
Our Patreon audience has a
the
video of
problem is
TP.
that the TP got torn apart by the wind.
Oh no.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
it
good.
did. But she made a TP entirely out of wood.
And then she went and made another one out of branches that was very good.
And
Very
a
good.
tree that we are able to lift, but it got taken apart like
Okay.
the other.
Everything gets taken apart, doesn't it?
All right.
By the wind.
Go check on your rabbits, babe.
Yeah, make sure they have some water, okay? One of the reasons we have so many rabbits right now is that I'm trying not to do too much butchering with the girls, and they keep, whenever I butcher, I let them keep one or two of them, just because I'm a sap that way. And so now we have way more rabbits than we need because I let the girls keep too many. Okay,
Thanks,
where
John and
is
Stephanie.
the hat?
Good question. Is it in the bag? Get rid of, I thought you said that these come down from the top.
Are you sitting on it?
I'm not sitting on it.
I was going to show you Corinne's hat,
Oh yeah,
but I don't see it.
it's a good looking hat. That's about the best that I can offer right now.
Do you want to talk for a minute while I look for it?
Oh, sure. Let's see. Well, I guess we'll get to Bandana Grandma. Sorry, we're going to have to just tell her when she gets back in. But she didn't know the big bad wolf was real. She's like, so Bandana Grandma's so relieved. Oh, okay. An actual question. Let's see. Stones throw what? Throw acers? Cool. Let's see. What skills do you feel you need or would love to learn in the future? One of my challenges is learning how to swim. Seems odd. I never learned how, although I know I can float. Haha. Hey. Okay. So interesting story on that. So I had been boating since I was 8 years old. Water skiing, kneeboarding, etc., etc. I never actually learned to swim until I was in college, and I had to take a class on it. So it's never too late, and I love diving and swimming now. Okay.
Let's see. Yes, and we had Deep South Homestead. We don't watch the news and haven't in 3 years. Nope, stop. We hear enough on Facebook and YouTube to know. See, and if I need news, that's where I go. And then after I watch it once, I turn it off and kind of digest it. I'm not on it constantly. And then Doc, I liked this comment. If you could afford horses and had space for them, wouldn't they be a bonding element for the family? For me, it's a safety issue with the kids is that them going out and playing with the horse when I'm not there to supervise is a recipe for trouble with the behavior we've seen with them around horses when we had one before. Because we had a friend that gave us the little pony, the little Icelandic pony. And Paige went out there with a stick and tried to teach her tricks. You know, she was only 7 at the time and Kai was 5. And so you have a little sister standing next to a horse that the sister is trying to teach it tricks with the stick, meaning tapping the horse to make it do things she wanted to do. There's a limit to some horses' patience. And so for me, I would rather that they were in a supervised situation while learning about horses and learning how to be responsible around them. And hey, so when we had horses, this was before I had a horse, before we got married. So when I was 25, I had a horse. I kept it at a stable. I was working and going to college and that kind of thing. And so I just felt like a horse was really irresponsible to try and hold on to when I was planning to be a stay-at-home mom. And John didn't care for horses. And so it just didn't make any sense to hold on to them.
What are the lights moving around the room? Can I select my questions?
It's air moving.
That would be dust in our setting sun because we have the curtain open just enough to let the right amount of light in. It's pretty though. Looks like disco globe lights. So.
If you took the RV route, you would be teaching the girls through your experience. Kids like to do less and less with the parental unit as they get older. Carpe diem, best of both worlds, camping for Mr. D and homeschooling for you and the girls. And we totally agree. At this point,
and we might even be able to bring our sewing machine.
That would be fun.
I thought about that
because I know we won't be able to take that much clothes.
Yeah.
So we'd have to sew them, huh?
As far as that goes, our issues are we want to have a home base that has fruit trees and the capacity to grow food on should bad things happen, so we could just come home. But we haven't found a renter who can afford to pay the rent plus the fines that come with having a renter that would be able to
increase in taxes and insurance.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. And so our renter would actually have to pay more than what we pay in our mortgage. And I feel some trepidation about leaving a renter with my property as far as destruction. We have the greenhouse. If they weren't a homesteader, so we're really looking for a renter who wants to be a homesteader, because then they could use the greenhouse, they could use the gardens, they could raise rabbits and things like that.
We have a potential. We might be meeting with somebody this week, and
maybe we could use a woofer, Dad.
So,
could use a woofer.
If a woofer would
we have someone that is a potential, but they can't afford what it is that we would need to have them pay. And that's us barely breaking even and maybe actually paying a little of it ourselves if they come at the price that they can afford. And so we're thinking the earliest we would leave is in September, because by then I'm finished with watering and no trees would die just because I wasn't there to water them.
Mom, I kind of would like it when the first snowstorm started, or when snow started.
Head straight for Trish, huh?
Yeah. And so that's kind of what we're thinking, is it would be cooler in September. We wouldn't be having to worry about dying of heat stroke in the RV. And
yeah, because last time we got sick, we had kind of a bad heat stroke.
We did have a bad heat stroke.
It was pretty bad.
And so it would give us a few months to get across the country to where we're actually headed, and visit everybody along the way. before snow hit. For us, we don't get snow. We don't get real snow until Christmas. And after Christmas, we start to get some snow accumulation. But before that, the roads are dry. We have a little skiff of snow here and there.
See, and I disagree with that. But it happens on November 1st. It's already too cold and snowy. And good times.
But another thing that I would like to leave at is when it's cooler. Just a little bit cooler. Not a kind of heat that would make us have heat stroke, but still warm, that way we wouldn't be dying of coldness, like a cold.
A cold stroke?
Cold stroke.
I agree.
Heat stroke, yeah, good thinking.
Right, Kitty, and we wish we could get, the person that's thinking of renting is one of our viewers, and that's how they found out we were renting. And we think that would be great if that's the thing that bothers me. I am such a prepper that I'm not capable of leaving and selling without knowing we have somewhere to land if bad things happened. That just really bothers me, not to have somewhere to land. What is it?
Nothing. Deep South says we can come and die of heat stroke in September. That could be fun.
Yeah, right. I think we'll hit some of our northern cities, but do we want to go to Doug and Stacy's? We want to go to Doug and Stacy's. We hear they are ballin'.
Right. We hear they talk in the third person too. That is just a sign of awesome.
Yes, we want to come and see everybody is the thing.
Right.
And at this point, because we don't know what to do with the house, we're taking baby steps as we can. And the other reason is if we wait till September, it's given me a month to really talk to our realtor whom we love and adore. And
she also is a property manager.
Yeah, so she would be the property manager if we rented to someone. And if we couldn't find somebody to rent, then we would talk to her about selling. I have such a hard time leaving my dirt. I went and saw our old house a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I was crushed. The peach trees are still alive, but they don't have any fruit on them. It's obvious that nothing has been watered, and the cherry tree is dying.
And how did you say that on the way back? She says, I recognize a pattern. Everywhere I go, I need to put together a food forest.
Yeah, everywhere I go, I leave fruit trees for whoever's coming, and all I can do is pray that they'll recognize. When I left our last house, I drew them a map and left it on the fridge, and itemizing, this is where this fruit is, and this is where this fruit is, and this is where this fruit is, and this is the kind of carrot needs. And I made them this map of all the plants that I had put in so that they would know that's what this is. It's not a weed.
Yeah. However, the problem is that buyer is no longer in that house.
Right.
It's now the next
changed
one
hands
who didn't
2
get
times.
the map.
3 times.
3 times.
It's changed hands 3 times now. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing that really bothers me is I want to guarantee, I feel like a parent when it comes to my fruit trees. Like, I planted you, I promised you'd have a good life, you'd stay alive, and you would become abundant.
Dying.
And then when I leave you and people don't take care of you,
you become rotten and corrupted.
What?
When you leave you to yourself, and never mind.
When the new owner comes in, if they don't understand what I've done, and they're like, oh my gosh, why is there all this mulch in the backyard? And they take out the mulch, my willow living fence will die. And
I just realized what a great metaphor that is to raising actual children too. Leave it to other people, and they will rot.
They're not going to rot and die. They'll dry out.
Never get water. I thought it was funny.
He's bringing you.
No, I don't want the babies down here because they'll pee on the floor.
She's just showing them.
Yeah, library lady. It is. It's a financial crossroads. We've never had this kind of stress in our marriage before, as far as feeling like we're out of control. Not that we're not out of control, but that the situation is such that whichever crossroads we take, it's a big crossroads. They are super cute, but take them out. Did you feed them? Yeah. Good girl.
They're still hungry.
Their bellies are really full right now, and you're not being kind to. No.
What did Mom say? Thank you.
They're still hungry.
Go put them in the backyard and stop picking them up. Their bellies are full.
There isn't very much.
Okay, Mike Johnson. So here's a question I can't answer. Why are we not on YouTube Live? So one of the drawbacks of being in the country, way far away from town and way far away from a big town, is that you don't have any good internet. And so our upload speed is sitting at about a 0.5 megabyte, which is barely enough to have any video at all, as long as nothing else is on. And even that is our like peak, which we have managed to do on a couple Sundays. And then recently it's not even that. So we can't even survive on the barest of YouTube streams.
Yeah, we can't.
Sorry.
So we do Google.
So we got G+ because their encoding is better and quicker.
Okay, so here is her hat. This is Corinne, the Fresh Princess's hat. I finished it in one day. I loved the pattern. I don't know if you can see at one point there's this one with pearls and so anyway, the design is really, really pretty, but the pattern was unclear on one point and I made it too short. So I'm going to give this to one of the girls. The problem is I only have this much yarn left from what I made, and so I'm not sure it's going to be enough to make another hat. So I might have to unwind this, get it wet, re-stretch it to make sure that it's not wonky, and start again. But this is life.
Do you want to answer Bandana Grandma's? What kind of organic pesticides or fungicides do you use on your fruit trees?
I don't.
No? We use ducks.
I use ducks, and our pear tree doesn't get any bugs in it. Our apple trees this year didn't have any bugs in it. And the Muscovy ducks are exceptionally good at keeping bugs down. Oh my gosh, flies in particular. Muscovy ducklings are like homing devices. They're just, they get like this little, they hover down on the ground and then they go like this after the flies, and they just snap them out of midair. They don't wait for him to lie down on something. They just snap them out of midair, and they're so fast. And we have not had a problem with flies in our house this year.
So quiet, and they are so amazing.
So quiet and so amazing. We love the Muscovies.
Yes. So, flying versus farm. Rebecca, I hear you not wanting to leave your dirt. Yeah, it is very hard. I find it hard to contemplate even leaving. I am in that boat right now. Yes, it's a tough decision. Do we, because we remember selling the last house, if we sold, and the leaving and the heartbreak, and we were just talking about the garden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the thing is, for me, I do feel like my land is a trust given to me by God. We're supposed to be recreating the Garden of Eden. We are supposed to be nurturing the soil, and so I feel like when I leave a property that I put this time and energy into, I know what's going to be coming next. It's going to be Roundup, and it breaks my heart that it will be Roundup. But we feel really, really strongly that we need to travel because our girls are not going to be little much longer, and we don't want them to feel like they can't, like they have to be hermits.
Bandana came back.
I wish I live on 9,000 square feet in the suburbs.
Do you remember how much flowers was? It was 0.15 acres, so it was about the same size.
So we had the same size as yours, and we had not Muscovies. We had khaki Campbell ducks. They were so loud.
And we have goats.
And goats.
And very much goats were not allowed. So I'm not condoning this.
But it did, according to the covenants, what we did was allowed.
Find the quietest of species, and Muscovies are very quiet.
You had to clip their wings, though. They're flyers.
Yeah, they will fly. So.
And we had a privacy fence.
Yeah, that helped a lot, too. So. I don't know.
My family was forced to give up our long-standing orchard operation due to rezoning. Oh no. How can they? But aren't you grandfathered in?
Yeah, how does that work, Doc?
It was devastating to my grandmother. I still grow the family's Concord grapes, but I'm not planning to take cuttings to Arkansas. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that is horrible.
Well, we're getting stuff from clear back at the beginning.
My hubby used to watch Fox News and would get so upset. Finally stopped watching it. He's much better now.
And Fox News needs advertisers, and what keeps people watching for advertising is fear.
Well, and I was talking to Shadell. Those of you who don't know Shadell, she's Delectable Mountains. Yes. And we were talking about what's going on with the police and the shootings of black men that is going on. And she said she comes at it from a very personal place, and she says, I wish that people would stop putting it on the news. There's Asians that get accidentally shot by cops. There's white people that accidentally get shot by cops. Why is it that they keep putting up these pictures, these videos of black men getting shot by cops? Why is it they're focusing on this? There has to be something behind it. And the same thing with the cops is that, you know, we have to Oh my goodness, cops are people. If we were talking about cops here in our area, not only are there not any black men getting shot, there's no white men getting shot. There's no, the cops are,
It's very rare.
are in
It
our
happens.
neighborhood.
It's
They're
so
people. We know them by name. And so what Shadell was talking about was that, you know, no, it wasn't. It was Living on a Dime. Living on a Dime was talking about how her husband, Mike, had been participating in television stations and the news and stuff like that, and that he had seen a newscast of a riot, and he was going to go the next day into that area to work, and he was really scared because he saw this riot. And he got there the next day and everything looked normal, and he asked his friend when he got there, well, what about these riots? And the guy's like, what riots? He's like, well, it was on the news that there was this huge riot here and it was a big deal, race riots and everything. He's like, no, some kids from the local college just got into a little bit of a drunken fight with kids from a different college, and they broke some beer bottles at the 7-Eleven, and that's what happened. There was no riots. And he's like, whoa. So I think that's kind of what Shadell was talking about, in that she feels like her family is in danger, but the news is not helping things, because it's making her and her family more vulnerable to having people in her area feel bad about her because of the color of her skin.
So it's 7 o'clock. We're off to Tommy.
We're going over to Tommy's. Brad said that they have a really good show tonight. So it's Off Grid Nation, and make sure to go and check them out.
Thank you guys. Have a great week.
Bye.